You had it this time. Not a feeling, not a suspicion you could be talked out of. You had the message, the receipt, the thing you'd seen with your own eyes. You'd rehearsed how you'd say it, calm and clear, because you knew that the moment you raised your voice, they'd find a way to make the conversation about your voice instead of their behavior. And 90 seconds later, you were the one apologizing. You don't fully remember how it happened. There was a denial, flat, almost bored, as if your evidence were too absurd to dignify. Then, an attack. Something about your insecurity, your jealousy, the way you're always looking for problems. And then, somehow, a reversal. Suddenly they were hurt. Suddenly they were the wounded party, the one being falsely accused, the one who couldn't believe you'd think so little of them after everything they'd done for you. You came in holding them accountable. You left comforting them. What just happened to you is not a personality. It's not a bad temper. It's not them getting defensive. It's a sequence, a specific, repeatable, almost mechanical sequence, and once you can see it, you will never unsee it. It's called DARVO, and by the end of this, you'll be able to call every move before they make it. DARVO is an acronym coined by psychologist Jennifer Fried, who studied how perpetrators respond when they're confronted about something they did. It stands for deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. 4 words, 3 moves, 1 purpose: to make accountability so expensive for you that you stop attempting it. Here's why it matters that this is a named sequence and not just how they argue. When something has a name, it has a shape, and when it has a shape, you can see it coming. The reason DARVO works on intelligent, self-aware people is that it happens fast, and it targets exactly the part of you that wants to be fair. You go into the conversation prepared to defend a position. You are not prepared to suddenly defend your character. That switch, from the facts to your worth as a person, is the entire trick. Let's walk through each move slowly, because in real time they blur together. They're designed to blur together. The blur is the point. The first move is deny. Not a careful, detailed denial. Those are actually harder to maintain. The most effective denial is flat, total, and slightly insulted. That never happened. I have no idea what you're talking about. You're imagining things. The flatness is strategic. A detailed denial invites you to examine the details. A flat denial invites you to question your own perception. And if you brought evidence, the denial doesn't even need to address it. It just needs to make addressing it feel like an overreaction on your part. The second move is attack. This is where the conversation pivots away from what they did and toward what's wrong with you for bringing it up. Notice the attack is almost never about the topic. It's about you, your jealousy, your insecurity, your obsession with this, the way you always do this. The attack has a job to put you on defense, because a person defending their own character cannot simultaneously prosecute someone else's behavior. You only have so much attention. They're spending yours. And the third move, the one that does the real damage, is reverse victim and offender. This is where they become the victim and you become the offender. You came in as the person who was wronged. You leave as the person who did the wronging. By accusing them, by not trusting them, by hurting them with your suspicion. The roles don't just blur, they flip. Completely. There's a question that haunts people after this happens, and it's usually some version of, "How did I fall for that? I'm not stupid. I saw it coming and it still worked." It worked precisely because you're not stupid. DARVO exploits the machinery of fairness, and fairness is a feature of thoughtful people, not a bug. Consider what a fair-minded person does when accused of something. They pause. They consider whether there might be truth in it. They hold the possibility that they could be wrong. That instinct, the willingness to self-examine, is exactly the surface DARVO needs to grab when they reverse the roles and accuse you of being unfair, untrusting, paranoid. Your fairness instinct activates. You start to wonder, am I being unfair? Have I become someone who looks for problems? And in the time it takes you to honestly consider that question, the original issue has vanished from the table. A person without that instinct, someone who never doubts themselves, is actually harder to run DARVO on because they don't take the bait. The reversal needs your conscience to function. It borrows your own integrity and uses it against you. There's a second reason it works, and it's about speed and emotional whiplash. The 3 moves happen in seconds. You don't get time to process the denial before the attack lands, and you don't get time to absorb the attack before you're suddenly comforting a wounded person. Your nervous system can't keep up. By the time the reversal completes, you're flooded, and a flooded brain reaches for the fastest way to make the discomfort stop. Often that fastest way is to apologize, to soothe, to restore the peace you didn't break. And here's the part that compounds over time. If this sequence runs often enough, you stop bringing things up at all. You learn, not consciously, but in your body, that raising an issue costs more than swallowing it. That's the long game of DARVO. It's not really about winning the individual argument. It's about training you to stop starting them. A partner who never confronts you is a partner you never have to be accountable to. The silence isn't peace. It's a conditioned response. Let me show you how this looks in different settings, because once you see the shape in one place, you'll see it everywhere. In a romantic relationship, it sounds like this. You. I saw the messages. Them. Deny. Those are nothing. You're reading into it. Them. Attack. Honestly, this jealousy is exhausting. This is your issue, not mine. Them. Reverse. I can't believe you'd go through my phone. After everything, this is how little you trust me? Do you know how that makes me feel? And now you're explaining why you looked, apologizing for the breach of trust. The breach of trust being yours, somehow, in a conversation that started with theirs. In a family, it sounds like this. You finally name something a parent did to you growing up. Deny. That never happened. You've always had an overactive imagination. Attack. After everything I sacrificed for you, this is the thanks I get. Reverse. Do you know how much it hurts a mother to hear this? You're trying to destroy me. And now you're the child who's hurting your aging parent with your version of events. At work, it sounds like this. You raise a concern about a colleague taking credit. Deny. I have no idea what you're referring to. Attack. You've seemed really threatened lately. Is everything okay? Reverse. I have to say, being accused like this is creating a hostile environment for me. And suddenly, HR is hearing about how you made someone uncomfortable. Same 3 moves, different costume. The structure never changes because the structure is what works. I want to name one thing carefully here because it matters. Not every denial is DARVO. Sometimes people are actually innocent, and an innocent person who's wrongly accused will deny it, may get upset, and may even point out that the accusation is unfair. That's not manipulation. That's a normal human response to being wrongly accused. The difference is in the reversal and the pattern. An innocent person wants to resolve the facts. They'll engage with your evidence. A person running DARVO wants to escape the facts. They move away from the evidence and toward your character, and they do it every single time accountability appears. One conversation isn't a diagnosis, a pattern is. So what do you actually do when the sequence starts? Because knowing its name doesn't automatically stop it from working. You need a response that the sequence can't digest. The first principle, refuse the role swap. The entire payload of DARVO is in the reversal. The moment you feel the conversation tilt toward your character, your jealousy, your trust issues, your cruelty, that's the tell. That's the move. Name it to yourself silently. This is the reversal. Just identifying it in the moment breaks the spell because the spell depends on you not noticing the topic changed. The second principle, do not defend your character. This is the hardest one because every instinct screams at you to prove you're not jealous, not paranoid, not cruel. Don't. The instant you start defending yourself, you've accepted the new topic and abandoned the old one. You don't have to prove you're a good person to someone who's using your goodness as a lever. Let the accusation about you sit there, unanswered, and return to the only thing that matters. The third principle, the broken record. Pick one factual sentence and return to it. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the messages. They'll deny again. We're talking about the messages. They'll attack. We're talking about the messages. You are not trying to win. You are refusing to be moved off the facts. A DARVO sequence needs you to chase it. If you don't chase, it has nowhere to go. The fourth principle, and the most important one for the long game, you do not need the conversation to resolve. This is the release valve. So much of your pain in these moments comes from needing them to admit it, to finally see it, to give you the acknowledgement. They won't. Not in this conversation, maybe not ever. The freedom is in deciding that your knowledge of what's true does not require their confirmation. You saw what you saw. That's enough. You can end a conversation without a verdict. And sometimes the right move is simply to stop participating. I'm not going to keep going in circles. I know what I saw. And then you're done. Not as a punishment, not as a power play, as a refusal to keep feeding a sequence designed to exhaust you.